The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Phil Predmaszewski, and I'm a regional manager here at Yash Technologies. And I'd like to welcome you to our webcast today on how to automate the use of Microsoft Excel in your SAP financial environment. As many of you already know, Yash is a longtime SAP business partner, and we're also proud to say that we are a certified worldwide partner for Global Software. Global is the #1 provider of Microsoft Excel-based automation solutions, and our companies work together to improve the user experience of clients who wish to leverage and exploit critical business data with Excel. Most companies today would love to have the ability to transform their spreadsheets into dynamic analytical tools using live information. Today, you'll discover how to automate Excel-based processes around the SAP General Ledger. You'll learn how companies can increase the efficiency of their analysis and reporting processes while at the same time dramatically accelerate month-end activity. Our main presenter today is Caitlin Gill, Product Information Manager with Global Software. Caitlin joined the Global team in 2007, previously serving as a Director of Financial Markets. With several years of software experience, Caitlin currently plays a leading role in product direction, typically with Global's Microsoft Excel-based automation tools. In addition to this, she is also responsible for pre-sales efforts across the globe. We will be holding a Q&A session at the close of this presentation and demo, so if you could hold your questions until then, it would be much appreciated. To pose a question, just key in or type in your question in the question box on your screen. So without further ado, it's my distinct pleasure to present our key speaker for today's event, Ms. Caitlin Gill. Caitlin, it's all yours.
Great, thanks, Phil, and thanks, folks, for taking the time out of your day today for this webinar. Just to talk a little bit about Global and give you a little bit about a background of who we are and where we came from. We were founded in 1973. Our worldwide corporate headquarters are in the Research Triangle region of North Carolina and Raleigh, North Carolina. But we do have sales and support offices in New York City, Greensboro, Seattle, and our EMEA headquarters are in London. We actually started with our own suite of financial products back in the 70s. So we have our own General Ledger, accounts payable, accounts receivable system that we still sell, service, and support today. But probably about the late 90s, we got into the business of Excel automation because we wanted to provide our clients with a very easy way to pull data out of our systems into Microsoft Excel. Over the years, clients moved off of our systems to systems like SAP, Oracle, J.D. Edwards, and we started developing Spreadsheet Server, our flagship tool, for these other systems. And that's how we have become the #1 provider of Microsoft Excel-based automation solutions for the SAP and Oracle marketplaces. We now have over 4,000 customers in 40 countries using these Excel automation tools. We have 3 main components of our Excel automation suite: Spreadsheet Server, Distribution Manager, and Enterprise Budgeting. Spreadsheet Server, the main product we'll be taking a look at today, provides a live and dynamic link between your SAP ERP system and Microsoft Excel. It actually allows you to build real-time reports in Excel with drill-down capability. The product is really designed with the end user in mind, so it doesn't require an IT background or database knowledge to be able to use. And it's not only designed for SAP. Again, this particular product, Spreadsheet Server, can really report against any relational database. So if you do have databases outside of SAP that you're using, maybe Oracle, J.D. Edwards, iSeries databases, it can report on those as well. Distribution Manager, which we'll also be taking a look at today, complements Spreadsheet Server and allows for a seamless distribution of those reports once created throughout your organization. The last product in our suite, Enterprise Budgeting, we won't be taking a look at today, but Enterprise Budgeting is a complete budgeting solution, allowing for an intuitive Excel-based budgeting front end and the ability to streamline and control the entire budgeting process. But the 2 key components of our Excel automation suite, Spreadsheet Server and Distribution Manager, we will be showing you in the demonstration today. Our tools are really designed to transform your Microsoft Excel reporting environment and provide an Excel strategy for your organization. In most organizations, what we've found is that they have three major investments. You invest in your people, you invest in your ERP like SAP or Oracle, and most organizations also invest in a business intelligence strategy. But there's one key component that's missing from that. Your end users still use Excel, and what we help you create is a sound Excel automation strategy for your organization. Spreadsheet Server is very easy to install. It takes about an hour to install, and we typically do 1 day of training. Spreadsheet Server also helps end users eliminate what one of our key users, Jody Billiard, the Chief Accounting Officer of a little company called Coca-Cola Bottling Company, calls hand banging. Jody presents with us at several conferences around the world and says before Spreadsheet Server, his end users were constantly hand banging their numbers from SAP into Excel. And so Spreadsheet Server, by providing that live and dynamic connection, eliminated this hand banging process. The products also completely respect the SAP security, so we're only allowing the end user to access what they currently have access to within SAP. So it's not only bringing the data into Excel, but it's bringing it into Excel in a secure manner. The results our end users have told us they find are time savings, going from days at month end to hours using this product, increased spreadsheet security, and then allowing the end users to actually build their own reports. So they don't have to rely on IT to do all the report building. I wanted to showcase a few of our more recognizable SAP accounts, but we do work with businesses of many shapes and sizes. So in our database of over 4,000 plus customers, I'm sure we could find one similar to each one of you on the call if you'd like to speak with someone using our products. We always like to let our end users speak for our products themselves and give our potential customers real-life examples of how they're gaining efficiencies through the use of Global's Excel Automation Suite. So without further ado, what I'd like to do is actually walk you through Spreadsheet Server and show you how the product actually works. So we'll flip over, take a look at a real-life example of the product, and then at the end of the presentation of Spreadsheet Server and Distribution Manager, we can take any questions that you have regarding the products that you've seen today. So Phil, if you could just give me the thumbs up that you do see the Excel spreadsheet in front of you, we'll go ahead and get started with the product demonstration.
Yes, it looks good, Caitlin. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, folks, so Spreadsheet Server, the first product we're going to be taking a look at today, is an Excel add-in. So it's actually installed right here where Excel is installed, on the desktop. And what it's doing in this scenario is providing a live and dynamic link between SAP and Microsoft Excel. So what that means from an end user perspective is that we can actually build a report in Excel, like this income statement, and then every time I open up this report and maybe change a parameter like a period, you'll notice all of my data dynamically refreshes, and it's refreshing directly from SAP. So using Spreadsheet Server, you only have to set up your reports one time in Excel, and then every time you need to see the updated numbers, you just simply open them. When I open this report, it will update with the latest and greatest data from SAP. So we know that that's a huge benefit to our clients, having that real-time access to their data in Microsoft Excel. But what's also pretty huge for our clients, especially our accounting folks that are using this product, when they're closing the books at the end of the month, they need to know where these numbers came from, and they need to be able to take a look at the details behind the numbers. So what Spreadsheet Server also provides is full drill-down capability. So within the spreadsheet, if I had a question about, let's say, manufacturing expense, I could right-click, do what we call a Spreadsheet Server drill-down, and when I hit that drill-down button, what it will do is it will show me, within this drill-down window, all of the detailed balances that make up that number in the report. I could sort this information in ascending or descending order by amount, or maybe group it by business area so I can see those amounts subtotaled by business area. But it doesn't stop here. I can actually drill to further levels of detail. So if I wanted to take a detailed look at salaries, I could double click on that balance, and what it will do is drill down to the journal entry detail. So without ever leaving Excel, I can drill down and analyze journal entries as soon as they're posted to SAP. And believe it or not, folks, it doesn't even stop here. We have the capability to drill down to subledger detail. We even have clients that drill down to an AP invoice image. So you can drill down to as many different levels of detail as you'd like. You also have the capability to take this detail and export it to your spreadsheet. So if I wanted to take these journal entries and copy them to Excel, what I could do is just create a new tab in my report. I'll call it Journal Detail. And when I click OK, what Spreadsheet Server did was it pushed that detail out of the drill down window and into my workbook. So that way for auditing or reconciliation purposes, or if I needed to respond to a particular inquiry, I now have all of that detail sitting right here in Excel. A couple other neat features of the drill down window that I'd like to highlight. You do have the capability to do what we call multi-cell drill downs. So I can highlight multiple columns, we'll say 2007 and 2008, drill down on both. And what it will show me in the drill down window are not only the detailed account balances for 2007 and 2008, but it also creates a variance to where I can compare the two on the fly. We also have the capability within the product to actually burst that drill down detail into other tabs of the report. So we have a formula that you can set up within Excel called the GXE formula that will actually take that detail and push it into these other tabs. So this particular balance, this $1 million number, when I click Generate All Detail Reports, what it does is it takes all of the detailed balances and all of the journal entry detail and it pushes it into these two tabs and creates a tab called Detail, showing me the detailed balances, and creates a tab called Journals, showing me the journal entry detail. So it automates that manual process of copying the information from the drill down window and pushing it into Excel. Okay, so whether you're building an income statement, a balance sheet, doing cost center reporting, even building more of a dashboard type view of your organization, Spreadsheet Server is providing you that live and dynamic link to your database to be able to pull in these numbers directly from, in this case, SAP, into Excel, and then from that point forward, having these live reports in Excel that you can just simply open up to see the latest and greatest data. So the question most people ask at this point is, well, this is great. I'd love to have live data in Excel. But how difficult is it to actually build these reports? Do I need a technical skill set to be able to actually do the report building? And the answer to that is absolutely not. We built this product with the end user in mind. So we wanted the product to be intuitive for the end user. So what we're actually doing is using formulas in Excel. I'll highlight this GXL formula up at the top of the screen so you can see it. This formula is a part of our product Spreadsheet Server. And what it's doing, like many Excel formulas, it needs parameters to set the conditions for the selection of data that's coming from SAP. So what we're doing is we're using Excel's cell referencing capability to point to these color-coded cells that you see in the formula and use the values from those cells to populate these accounting parameters into the spreadsheet. So the key word there, folks, was accounting. These are accounting parameters. They're not technical. We are not expecting the end users to be familiar with files or fields or tables or anything like that. When you're building a report as an end user, what you would identify are things like your ledger type. In this case, I'm pulling data from my FI ledger, my currency type, and you'll notice I have a nice little drop-down window, so I can easily toggle between a local or a group currency, for example. Same with my year. If I wanted to change this and look at maybe 2005, I can make that change right here in Excel, and you'll notice my spreadsheet is dynamically updating. Format is also a predefined roll-up. So this allows us to look at balances by period. If I wanted to build a monthly report, quarter. I have a year-to-date option. I have a life-to-date option if I was building a balance sheet, and that would show me the beginning of the year balance as well as the current activity. And then I also have a range option if I wanted to see a range of periods, for example, maybe periods 2 through 4. I would identify my type of data, actual or planned. So if you do have your budget forecast data loaded into SAP as an example, you can build actual versus budget reports. I would identify my chart of accounts, my currency code, my company. Now in this case, I'm just looking at one single company, company 1000. But let's say I had access to more than one company. I could change this to a wildcard, and you can see my report is now updating to show me all of the companies I have access to. Remember, folks, this product does respect the security in SAP. So each user would only have access to the companies they currently have access to within the SAP system. But when I'm building reports, I can not only use singles, but I can use wildcards. I have all of my accounts set up here in column C. And so you can see for cost of sales, the accounts that make up my cost of sales are all accounts that begin with 89,000. So I typed in 89 with a wildcard to pull in all accounts that begin with 89. I can also use ranges. So for selling expense, I've set up a range of accounts. Any groups or sets or hierarchies that you have set up within SAP, we can report on those as well. And then we also give you the capability to build what are called segment lists. And a segment list is a grouping that you can actually set up within Spreadsheet Server itself. And I've built one here for my manufacturing expenses. So on my Spreadsheet Server add-in, I'll just click on this segment list button to show you exactly how I set up that list. So manufacturing expenses are made up of a group of accounts. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to give that group of accounts a name, so I didn't have to manually type in all of the accounts that make up that group. So what I did was I gave my list a name. I called it MANFEXP. And then I added one range of accounts to that list, 2 single accounts, and then I also added an exclusive value. So I excluded some accounts from within that range. Well, now every time I need to use this group of accounts, I can just type in the caret symbol and the list name. And those values will be automatically pulled into the report, which you'll notice when I drill down. So the nice thing about those lists is that they can be created and shared among all of your end users. You can create standard sets of lists for cost centers, companies, business areas, accounts. If everyone's using the same set of lists, then if you ever need to make a change to one of those lists, you can make the change in one place, and every spreadsheet using that list would be automatically updated. And then at the end of the day, folks, we're truly using Excel as a report builder. So if I wanted to make a change to this report, let's say I wanted to look at a prior year. I could just take column H, copy it, insert copied cells, and change this to 2005. You can see I'm literally just using Excel as my report builder. If I make a change I don't like, well, I've got this great undo button, which is just a function of Excel, that'll allow me to go back to where I started from. There's not too many reporting tools that come with an undo button, so that's one that I personally use quite often. So now that we've taken a look at some of the features and functionality of the tool, what I'd like to walk you through is how we actually set up a report. So you can see how we build a report from scratch, and also how we can take an existing Excel spreadsheet and automate it with Spreadsheet Server. So what I'm going to start off with is building a report from scratch. We jokingly call this our worst case scenario. And the reason we say worst case scenario is because typically most of our clients already have tons of reports built in Excel. And so when we come on site for that one-day training engagement, again, we typically train for 1 day for 10 users with Spreadsheet Server, we'll actually ask our clients to bring their existing Excel spreadsheets to the training. And in the training day, we'll work on placing formulas behind the numbers in their reports to bring those numbers to life. So any report that you've built in Excel today, we can certainly take and make that report live and dynamic with Spreadsheet Server. But of course, this is a great tool for ad hoc analysis. So what I'm going to show you here is how you actually build a report from scratch. So I'll go to my Spreadsheet Server Build a Template Wizard. This template wizard is going to assist me in placing that very first formula in the report. So the first thing I would select is my ledger type. And so you'll notice I have 5 different ledger types available. And so if I wanted to report on FI, I could select FI, or I might want to report on internal orders. And you'll notice when I change the ledger type, my account segments changed down here at the bottom. So based on the ledger type that I choose, I'll have different account segments that I can report against. I would select my currency type, so we'll use a local currency. Year, we'll say we want to look at data from 2006. Format, I'm going to use period as my format. And we'll start with period 1. My account segments I can place on the row or the column, so it's really up to me how I set up the report. And in my case, I'm going to place everything on the column except for account. And then what I would do is I would identify the type of data I'd like to look at, actual or planned, my chart of accounts, my currency code, what company or companies I'd like to look at. In my case, I'm just going to use one single company, Company 1000. For account, I'm going to use a wildcard. So we'll look at all accounts that begin with 89. And then I'll also wildcard business area. So we'll also look at all business areas. And that's it, folks. That's all I have to do to get started. Just enter in those simple accounting parameters, click Insert, and Spreadsheet Server will set up that formula and those parameters in Excel. So it's doing all of my syntaxing and cell referencing, returning this live balance that I can drill into right away to take a look at the details behind the numbers. And then from here, I'll just simply use Excel to build my report. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take row 18 and I'll copy that down a couple rows. So now that I have that live formula on each row, in column A I can start identifying other accounts I'd like to look at. So we might look at a couple ranges. And a couple single accounts. and maybe a few more ranges. And then from here, I can just continue to use Excel to build the report. So I might summarize my columns, maybe do a little formatting. I might even want to further narrow down my results to look at a specific business area. So we'll change that to business area 5,000. Then what I'll do from here is I'll take column C and I'm going to copy that across a couple columns. And then what I'll do is I'll change the period to look at periods 2 and 3. And then in column F, we'll say I want to look at a quarter-to-date roll-up. So I'm going to change my format to quarter, and it will show me quarter 1. Now I may want to compare periods 2 and 3. So what I could do is insert a new column and set up an Excel formula to display a variance. And then I'll just copy that Excel formula down. We'll give it a column header. Maybe spruce it up and add a little color. Charts and graphs, that's all just Excel functionality. So within a matter of minutes, you can see I'm well on my way to setting up that Excel spreadsheet. And once that report is set up, it's completely live and dynamic. So from month to month, I can just come in here and change, let's say, the period number. And you can see my numbers automatically updating. One of the other neat features of the drill down that I did not show you was the ability to create a more detailed report on the fly as well. So instead of drilling down, I also have the opportunity to choose what we call expanding a row. And when I click expand row, what it does is it pushes the detailed accounts and their descriptions right into the report. So it's showing me the accounts that make up that wildcard or this range, as well as the description. And then I can drill down on any of those single balances to take a look at further detail. But again, folks, within 5 minutes, we set up a report. And all the data in this report is being populated real-time from SAP. So even when you're starting from scratch, in your worst-case scenario, you can still set up reports very quickly with Spreadsheet Server. But as I mentioned, a lot of our clients, they already have reports in Excel. So what they do, what we do with them in a training session is we'll take a static report, maybe like this balance sheet. You'll notice all the numbers in here are just static numbers. And we'll use that same template wizard to populate this report with a formula. So I'm going to go to my Spreadsheet Server template wizard, and I would just identify what parameters are going to drive this formula in Excel. So my ledger type, my currency type, my year. My format will use life to date because we're building a balance sheet. Start with period 1. And then I would identify my account segment. So we want to look at all accounts that begin with 101 and maybe all business areas. And then we click Insert. And Spreadsheet Server will set up that very first formula in Excel. And so once we have that very first formula set up, all we have to do is just simply copy the parameters over to column E, and then identify the other accounts that make up these line items on the report. And then we can simply take that formula, copy it over, and copy it into every cell that we'd like to be live and dynamic. And you can see now all of those static numbers are updating with live data. So by populating our formulas into the static spreadsheets, it will bring those spreadsheets to life. Okay, so now we've kind of taken a look at how we build a report from scratch, how we automate an existing report, and the finished product, and some of the features and functionality, what I'd like to do is talk about the second component of the Excel automation roadmap, which is Distribution Manager. The Distribution Manager is very key to a lot of our clients because a lot of our clients, they have a core group of folks that are using Spreadsheet Server. But then they may have many other folks in the organization that simply needs to receive these reports on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. And Distribution Manager allows them to seamlessly send those reports out to all of those folks on either a scheduled or a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. The way Distribution Manager works is once you've built a report, once you have your finished product, like this income statement, you would go up to your Spreadsheet Server add-in, and you would create a new control sheet. So when I hit Create, what that does is it adds an additional tab to our workbook and gives us this promptable window where we can identify how we'd like to send the report out, who we'd like to send the report to, and what information in the report we'd like the recipients to be able to view. So we have 3 different methods of sending reports out. You can send reports out via email. You can save reports to a shared file location. Or you can send reports to a printer. So depending on how you distribute reports today, all of your options are covered. Now let's just say in our example, we have 3 different companies that need to receive this report via email. So we'll start with email. So I'll move over here to my email tab, and when I click on my To button, what this does is it links up with my Outlook address book. If you're not using Outlook, that's okay as well. This works with Lotus Notes, GroupWise, really any other email system that you're using. In my case, I am using Outlook, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for my first group of recipients within my Outlook address book. So we'll say I have a group called the Raleigh users that I'd like to send reports to. So I'm going to select the Raleigh users, click OK, and it would populate all of those email addresses into that window for me. And then I could continue to compose my email from here. So I'll give that email a very interesting subject and type anything into the body of the email. And then on the Miscellaneous tab, you might want to password protect your workbook. So you can not only give it an open password, but you can also give it a modified password. So if you don't want anyone to change anything in the workbook, you can lock it down so it cannot be modified. You can also add additional attachments. So if I wanted to add an additional attachment to the workbook, maybe a report explaining, I could certainly do that. Now moving back over to my General tab, the next thing that I would identify is what type of file I'd like to send. So I can not only send the report in Excel format, but I can also send the report in HTML or PDF format. Now, if I did convert the report to PDF or HTML, that report would be static. So it would no longer have drill-down capability. But the recipient of that report would not need to be a Spreadsheet Server user. They're just receiving a static report. So they certainly would not need a license of our product to be able to view it. Now, you can also send the reports in a static Excel format. So if anyone on the call has ever used Excel's copy-paste special, the Convert Formulas to Values option that we give you with Distribution Manager does the exact same thing. So we'll take our global formulas and convert them to values. You can not only convert our global formulas, but if you wanted to convert your Excel formulas as well, you could convert all formulas, or you could convert no formulas and send the report to another Spreadsheet Server user to where they could drill down and change parameters just like you can. So we'll say for our first company that we're sending a report to, we do want to send them a static spreadsheet. So we'll convert the global formulas to values. Now, if we're sending a static report, we want to make sure to send it with the correct information. So looking at our income statement right now, it's looking at all companies. But our Raleigh users, let's say that they are in company 1000, and we want to send them the report specifically for their company. So this Modify Cells option would allow me to go in and modify the income statement. The cell that holds the value for company is cell H10, so I can select that as a cell I'd like to modify. And I can change that value to look at a specific company, company 1000. So when I hit Add, what this will do at the time of distribution is actually push this value into cell H10. So it would actually convert the report to look at only company 1000 before it sends it out. I can also specify which worksheets I'd like to send out. So if I wanted to send the income statement only, I can add that one specific worksheet rather than sending all of the tabs within this workbook. And then from here, what I would do is push that first line out to Excel, go back to my email list, and select my next group of users. So we'll say I also want to send a report to my Greensboro users. And we'll say for these folks, I want to send them the same report, but for a different company. So all I have to do is remove my initial modification, change the company value, and by changing that company value to 2000, when this report is sent off to the Greensboro users, it will replace cell H10 with the value of 2000. So they'll receive a report for their company. We'll go back to our email tab and select our third group of users, our Seattle group. And we'll say for the Seattle group, they want the report for company 3000. So I'll just select company 3000 and push that third line out to Excel. Now we'll say we have one more group of users that needs to receive these reports. But rather than sending them out via email, we want to send the reports for this group out to a shared file location. So I'm going to change my destination type from email to file save. I'm going to browse out to our Y drive and push this into Beth's folder. We'll say Beth needs the report for company 4000, but Beth needs several reports. So I'm going to not only add the income statement, but I'll also add the cost center report, the dashboard, and the profit center report. And we'll say for Beth's group, they actually are Spreadsheet Server users. So instead of converting formulas to values, what I want to do is convert no formulas to values. And that way they receive a live and dynamic report. So now I've built my distribution list. I have reports going out to my Raleigh users, Seattle, and Greensboro users, and they're all receiving this income statement, but for their specific company. And then I also have reports going out to Beth's group. And they're receiving several reports, but they're going to pick their reports up from a shared file location. So now when I'm ready to send the reports out, I would just go to Distribute and hit Distribute All. And at that point in time, at that exact second, they would receive the latest and greatest data as of the second that I sent it. But let's say they need to receive the same report again next month. Well, I don't have to rebuild this distribution list. It's actually saved within my workbook. So all I would have to do is open up my income statement, change to the current period, go back to my distribution list, hit Distribute All, and it would send the latest and greatest data for the current month. We also have a scheduling feature that can be added called DAS Express. So if you prefer to have your distributions scheduled, instead of having to click Distribute All, you can add that additional feature, and you can schedule the distribution on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. So now we've taken a look at Spreadsheet Server, features and functionality. We've talked about how you build a report, how you automate an existing report, and how you distribute reports. But I know the main focus of the presentation so far has been really on general ledger type reporting. And I want to make you folks aware that Spreadsheet Server is not limited to the general ledger. You can use it to build reports out of really any area of SAP, or if you have databases outside of SAP that you'd like to pull data from, you can build reports from those as well. So this dashboard is a perfect example of how we can pull data from other areas. In this particular report, we're looking at sales data, accounts receivable, inventory, and cash flow. Our cash flow is actually coming from AR, AP, and purchasing. And this report is completely live and dynamic as well. So when I open up this report and change the report date, you'll notice all of the balance is dynamically refreshing. I also have full drill down capability here. So if I wanted to take a look at, let's say my customers in the 1 to 30 day past due range, I could right click, select query detail, and it will drill down and show me all of the detail about those customers that are past due. Within the drill down window, I have the same sorting capabilities. So if I wanted to sort by days outstanding or maybe group by region, I could certainly do that. Or just like with Spreadsheet Server, I might just want to take this detail and push it into my report. So I could certainly take this drill down detail, export it to Excel. I might create a tab in my report called 1 to 30 days past due. And when I click export, what it does is it pushes that detail out to my worksheet. I can insert a quick table, and then I can work with that detail within Excel. And like I said, the dashboard does not have to be SAP specific. Your accounts receivable could be stored within SAP, but your sales could be stored within an old AS400 database. And we can reach out to those databases and access data from those as well. So keep in mind that Spreadsheet Server is certainly not limited to the GL, and it really does allow you to reach out to any area and build reports against any data that you'd like to pull into Excel. The key features to remember with Spreadsheet Server is that it is an Excel add-in. It is providing a real-time link between your database and Microsoft Excel. So it really differentiates itself from a lot of more BI-type solutions because it's not working with a data warehouse. We are pulling real-time data into the spreadsheet and giving the end users an intuitive, friendly interface, which is Excel, where they can build reports. So at this point in time, Phil, I think I'll pass the controls back over to you, and we can answer some questions.
Okay, thanks, Caitlin. Boy, that was really great. I think the audience would agree that Spreadsheet Server and Distribution Manager are extremely powerful tools, and they can definitely help to improve the efficiency of financial processes. We've got about a little more than 15 minutes left to our time here, and if you have a question for us, you could just type it into the window on your computer. There's one right here. It looks like Caitlin, this one just came in. Is this considered a business intelligence tool? I mean, what if I already have a BI tool of some sort?
Oh, that's a great question, Phil, and that's one that we get asked quite a bit. And in fact, the Spreadsheet Server is not a BI tool, but it's actually a complement to a lot of the leading BI tools like Cognos, Business Objects, Hyperion. We actually like to call it a business excelligence tool, which really differentiates itself from BI. Actually, over 83% of our 4,000 plus customers in 40 countries actually use a leading BI tool in conjunction with Global Software's Excel automation tools. So again, it's not designed to replace your BI tool that has a specific place in your organization. It's really designed for those folks that need that real-time access to the data and need to be able to build their own reports in Excel.
Great. Here's another question that came up. Does Spreadsheet Server require any kind of a separate server?
Great question. Again, the name was somewhat of a misnomer. The name is meant to mean that we are serving data to a spreadsheet, but it actually does not require any server. It's installed as an Excel add-in. For SAP clients, there's a transport that we install on your SAP system that allows us to communicate with SAP through remote function calls. But the product itself is simply installed as an Excel add-in. So other than the transport and the add-in, that's all that's installed.
Okay, great. Again, if there are any other additional questions, please don't hesitate to key them in. Here's one here that just came up. Well, I need a data warehouse for Spreadsheet Server.
Great question, and the answer to that is absolutely not. Again, going back to the difference between us and most BI tools is most BI tools do require a business warehouse or a data warehouse, whereas Spreadsheet Server is actually a real-time link to the database. So it does not require a data warehouse or any additional server component.
Great. Okay. See, I think there's another one here. This is kind of a difficult one, perhaps, but the question that's posed is, what is the difference between this tool and my current reporting strategy? I'm not sure how we would know the answer to that one, but what do you think?
And just to repeat the end of the question, was the end of
the question is, what's the difference between this tool and my current reporting strategy? I'm not sure I know exactly what that means.
Well, that's a difficult one to answer because we'd have to know what your current reporting strategy is. Right. But if your current reporting strategy was using maybe a business warehouse or business intelligence tool, the difference, again, with this would be it would provide your end users something that they could build reports on their own in Excel. It would provide them a real-time link between your database and Excel with drill-down capability. And most of our end users find that it really saves a significant amount of time at the end of the month, especially because of that real-time access. But again, we can certainly take that call offline, find out a little bit more about your current reporting strategy, and maybe give you a better comparison.
All right. Good. Okay, good answer on that one. Are there any other questions? I don't see any more coming through, at least on my screen. There's one here. Can you show where SAP link is created and where the SAP user is identified?
Absolutely. That's actually a great question. And I'm happy to do that. So let me just flip my screen back over to our monitor 2, and I'll show you exactly where that's done. So when you actually set up the add-in, when you open up Excel, you have this enable button for Spreadsheet Server. And you'll notice that pulls up my SAP logon. So when I click OK, it's actually asking me to identify my user credentials. So I'm going to have to enter in my password. Click OK, and now you can see that little wheel that's going around. It's authenticating me as a user of SAP, and it's opening up my spreadsheet and calculating all of the formulas in my spreadsheet. So you're actually authenticated through Excel, and when I type in those credentials, what it's doing is then connecting with that to speak directly to SAP.
Okay, good. Here's another question that just came in. What version of Excel can be used?
That's a great question. We recommend that you're on 2003 or above, so 2003, 2007, and 2010. Of course, we're a Microsoft partner as well as an SAP partner, so we keep up with all of the latest and greatest versions. But if you have different versions throughout your organization, that's fine as well. But we do recommend that you are on at least 2003.
Okay. I don't think we have any more questions. Does anybody else there want to pose a question? Now's the time. All right. Looks like we're getting in the wrap-up mode here then. The screen in front of you has contact information if you require more information from us, and I'm sure we'll be doing some kind of follow-up to the attendees as a result of this webinar. So thank you all for attending. Thanks again for giving us some of your precious time today. I know it's important, especially this time of the month. It's probably when some of you are closing your books, so I appreciate you taking the time out to do this. I hope the webinar has been of value to you and to your companies.